Hey, it's Madeline. I hope you're all doing really well and thank you for coming over to my channel today for this super easy wrap top that is really versatile and has this beautiful braided lace stitch that I absolutely love. I hope you guys like it too. This top is made from just 4 rectangles and it has a low open back and tie straps to wrap around, and I explained some adjustments throughout you can make so that it fits you perfectly. Now I just wanted to show you a few quick ways that you can tie and style this once you have it. You can wrap it fully up into a little top on its own, or you can have it open like this with a crop top or a bralette underneath. You can tie it at the front and keep it loose, or you can tie it at the back with a bow. It has lots of options, which is one of the things that I love about it. Now just one final thing I wanted to say is if you like the look of this top and you want to see more videos to come, just make sure to subscribe. It really helps me keep making these videos and I really appreciate it. And thank you to all of my subscribers out there who keep supporting me each time I upload, and I'm looking forward to hearing from all of you what you think of this one. Okay, enough talking and let's get started. So to start, just make a slip knot however you would normally do that, and then we are going to chain the length for the body piece. So this first chain length is going to be the length from your shoulder to however long you want the body piece to be. So for me that was 65 from the top of my shoulder to my waist, and what you want to do is make sure however much you chain, it's an odd number. So once you have that chain length, you're going to add 2 more chains, and then we're going to start working in the 3rd chain from the hook. So yarn over, count down to that 3rd chain, and then we're going to go right into that 3rd chain from the hook and put in a double crochet. Now for this first row, we are just going to put a double crochet stitch in every chain along the row. So I'm going to finish with 65 double crochets and you should finish with however many you need, and just make sure it's that odd number of double crochets when you finish. So once you're at the end, you're going to chain 1 and then turn your work. Now this is starting the braided lace row. So you want to work into that very first double crochet stitch you've got there, so the one right under where you just chained 1, going under both sides of the V-stitch and put in a single crochet. Now after that single crochet you're going to chain 5, and then here you're going to skip the next double crochet and work into the next double crochet along. So you're working into the 3rd double crochet here. And again, going onto both sides of the V-stitch and putting in a single crochet. And then you're going to repeat this for the rest of the row. So you chain 5, you skip the next double crochet and you go into the one after that, and put in a single crochet. Now when you get to the end of the row, you're going to end up putting your last single crochet into that very last double crochet V-stitch there. So keep going and I'll meet you at the end of this row. Okay, so here I'm just doing the very last 5 chains, and then I'm going to put that final single crochet into the very last stitch on the previous row. And so once I've done that, I'm ready to start row number 3. So to do this, I'm going to chain 3 and then turn my work. and we're going to start working along the top of these 5 chain loops we've made. So what we're going to do is be putting single crochets into the middle chain, so into the 3rd chain on this loop. So you can either count, or you can kind of see which one is the 3rd one, because it looks like it's in the middle. So here I am just showing you, if you count, you can see that single crochet is there, and that the 3rd one is right in the middle there, and you'll end up kind of eyeballing it as you go along. It will become clearer each time that you put a single crochet into one of the loops. So you put in that single crochet, and then you chain 1, and then you find the 3rd chain on the next loop. So just straighten it out a little bit and go straight into that 3rd chain, chain 1, and repeat that all the way along the top. And when you get to the very last loop, I will meet you there to show you how to finish this row. So now you can see this lovely braided lace pattern is forming, and what we're going to do is finish off this row in this last loop. So not forgetting to add in that final chain 1. We're then going to work into that 3rd loop again with the single crochet, and then to finish you're going to work a double crochet into that final single crochet stitch. So that single crochet stitch you joined with on the previous row there. So count down, check you're in the right stitch there, and put in a double crochet stitch, and just pull it up a little bit tall so that it makes a nice straight edge with the row below. So now we're going to go back to doing a double crochet row. So what we're going to do is chain 2, turn our work, and then we're going to be working back along with double crochets. So we want to go into that 1st stitch, which is that very last double crochet that we made. So just double check where that is, go into the 1st stitch right under the hook, put in your double crochet. Then the next double crochet is going to go into the single crochet, that last single crochet you made there. And then the next one is going to go into the chain space. So where you chained 1 in between the 2 single crochets, you're going to put in your 3rd double crochet. And then you can just repeat alternating between putting a double crochet in the single crochet stitches and a double crochet in the chain spaces all the way until the end of the row. So continue along, and I'll meet you when we get to the end of this row to show you how to keep going. Okay, so right at the end, you've got this last single crochet and you've got that chain 3 from the beginning. So what we're going to do to start with is go into that single crochet stitch with a double crochet. And then in that chain 3, you're going to work into the 3rd chain, putting in a final double crochet. So just find that top chain that's closest to the last single crochet you worked into, push your hook through and put in a final double crochet. Now we've got our first completed braided lace row there that you can see, and now you can essentially repeat that. So what you're going to do is repeat the previous rows in order. So do the single crochet 5 chains row, then do the single crochet chain 1 row that we just did, then do your double crochet rows and keep repeating until you have the width that you need. So I did a total of 21 rows and that was 7 double crochet rows. So just keep going till you have the width you need and finish with a double crochet row. Now you're going to need 4 pieces in total, but I would say make 2 and leave the yarn balls attached if you still have enough yarn left over, and then we'll do the shoulder seams together, because then you can semi-try one half on and you can make sure it's going to fit the way that you want, so that if you wanted to make it a bit smaller or make it a bit bigger, you've still got a bit of room to adjust. So for now we'll do the shoulder seam with these 2 pieces. Now I decided that I wanted the original chain double crochet row, so the ones where I started there, to go together for the underarm. So the other side where I finished is going to be the centre, so the v-neck part. So what I'm going to do is seam across the top there. If you have a right side and a wrong side, you want your right sides together. It shouldn't make any difference, but if you've woven in yarn ends, then you might just want to make sure you have right sides together so that your seam is on the inside. Now I'm just going to continue on from this yarn ball, and what you want to do is you're just joining the 2 sides together, so you want to make sure that everything is nice and lined up. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just work straight over into the other side so that I can join these 2 pieces together. So I'm going to go into the side of that double crochet row, and then go straight back into the side of the double crochet row on the other one, and just put in a single crochet. And then I'm going to continue single crocheting all the way along. So you're probably going to put in around 2 to 3 per row, probably around 3 in your braided lace rows and 2 in your double crochet rows. But essentially you just want to work along the top, picking up a bit of yarn on the top of each side, and just make sure it's not too tight and it's not too loose. So just make sure it isn't getting bunched up, and it will look completely fine. So here I'm just working into the last double crochet row, and I've just pulled in that first starting yarn tail as I went, and I'm putting in the very final one in the corner of that double crochet row to bring it all neatly together. Then you can just check that everything looks okay on the other side, and I'm happy with that. So for the moment I am just going to chain 2 and go and try this on and make sure it's the right width. So I would say do that first before you cut anything off, and make sure it's comfortable across your shoulder and the top of your arm. Once you're happy with that, you can seam up the side and leaving the armhole open. So this is the side I decided I wanted to be the side seam. This is the one with the chain start row and then the double crochets, because I think it looks like it's already finished off for the what will be the sleeve at the side. So what you want to do is when you have it on, mark how big you want the armhole to be. I decided that 25 double crochets down was the right place for me, and so I'm just counting 25 down this side, and I'm going to put in a stitch marker. Then I'm just going to count down the other side to make sure it's even, and push the stitch marker through so it joins the 2 sides together. So as you can see, I put in another stitch marker halfway up just to keep things aligned, and then we can start joining the side seam. So here you're just going to find that first double crochet and find the stitch on top, and then find the first double crochet on the other side. That one was a bit tricky to get into just because I had woven in the spare end there. And then you're going to put your yarn at the back, pull through both sides and chain one. Now in that same space that you just pulled through the yarn, go back through both sides and you can weave in that new yarn tail that you've made there as you go, and then put in a single crochet. So now you're just going to continue along, putting a single crochet in the top of each of those double crochet stitches, and just check the other side as you work along to make sure you're keeping everything in line. And then you just want to continue all the way up until your stitch marker for your underarm. So when we're here, I'm just taking that stitch marker out, and that is my final single crochet through both sides. And then again for the minute, I'm just going to chain two, try this on again to double check that it fits the way that I want before finishing off. So here is the shoulder seam, and here is the side seam, which I like the way this turns out when you work through both sides fully. I think it looks a lot neater. And then here is the sleeve, the armhole, and that already looks finished off because of the double crochets and the chain. So now I'm just going to show you how I decided to finish these seams off. So this is the shoulder seam again, where previously we just chained two and tried it on. To finish off, I'm just going to chain one and pull through, just because it's right on the edge. I don't want to create an extra knot and extra bulk. You can chain two, pull it into a knot, which is what I often do in seams that are going to be more hidden. But here I'm just going to chain one and then just weave it in, back in through that seam to make it nice and secure. So just weave in a few different directions through that seam to make this nice and secure. And this is your finished shoulder seam. And then we can do exactly the same thing for the side seam. Just going to chain one, pull a reasonably long yarn tail to weave in, cut off, and then weave that back into the seam. Now once you've done this to both sides, so both sets of two, so you have your 4 body pieces, we can start putting it all together. So this is the back, and what I've done is I've made an overlap of the back pieces of 2 inches approximately. So here, this overlap is half the width of my waist, so I measured a comfortable waist of 30, and so it's 15 in total with the 2 inches overlap. And I've still left these yarn tails attached at the bottom, so I'm going to start working from this yarn ball that's still attached to work around the edge, the bottom edge. If you haven't kept the yarn ball attached, or it doesn't happen to be this particular one you've kept it attached on, that's fine. You can just start a new yarn piece as you normally would. So what you can do is what we've done previously, say to do the seams, you just bring that new yarn thread to the back and work into the side of that last double crochet stitch and pull through. So I'll just demo to you how you would start that if you need to do it. So now that I've sorted out mixing up all the yarn there, we can start. So for this, I'm going to chain one and then work into the side of that double crochet, and it's going to be a single crochet row all the way around the bottom. So there's my first single crochet. Now working around, what you're trying to do is put in enough stitches that you're not bunching up, but not put in too many, so just judge it as you go. I find I need about 2 for the double crochet row and 2 to 3 for the braided lace row here. Now I just wanted to show you, coming up to this first side seam, how I like to work across these. So essentially I'm just going to pick up the loop closest to the side of the seam and put in a single crochet, and then go straight over to the other side of the seam and pick up the loop closest on the other side. It's really simple, it's just a continuation, but just to show you that it evens out the seam nicely, and you don't need to put in any extra stitches or things like that. And here you can see what it looks like coming all the way around the side. And now we are coming up to that crossover at the back. So that stitch marker really didn't want to go, so it hasn't gone very far, but we've taken it out, and I'm just making sure that I'm lining up a double crochet row on the front piece with the back piece here, just to keep a nice continuation. And I'm putting in that last single crochet before the join, and it's really simple. You just go through both to join these together, exactly like you would if it was one piece, but just go through both sides. And sometimes, like me, you might find that you just need to wiggle that hook a little bit just to make sure that you get it through cleanly. And just continue that across the top. So I'll stop talking, I'll let you just watch this bit, and then we'll continue round. Here I'm just checking that that final double crochet row on the back is connected, and then we can continue working on just the one piece all the way around, just as we did before. Before you know it, you're going to be back at the end, putting in that last single crochet into the side of the double crochet row. So just do a quick final check that nothing looks bunched up and it all looks okay, and I am happy with that overall. So now what we're going to do is make the chain for the ties that will pull together the top around your waist. So this is really simple, you just keep chaining. So in total I ended up making 155 chains. That's quite long. I wanted to be able to tie quite a big bow at the front because I liked the way that it looked. You might not need it quite as long, but if you do a chain, pull it on, because you can now put it over your shoulders and put your arms through. See how tight you want it to be able to tie, and just check that you have enough with that length. And then when you're done with your chain length, I did 155, like I said, you just cut off that yarn and pull through, and then I just tied in a really simple knot. So if you're a bit uncoordinated like me, you can use your hook to help you. And as you pull this simple knot through, just push it down so it goes right to the edge of that last chain. Pull it nice and tight, give it a proper tug, and it will turn into this neat little knot that will keep it nice and secure, which you can see there once my camera focuses. And then I'm just going to chop off the excess there, just leaving a little bit so I don't chop off that knot by accident, and that will be a nice secure end to your ties. Okay, so now we just want to make the tie from the other side. So because we don't have a yarn on the go here, we're going to start a new yarn piece. Same way we always do, pull through the yarn with a nice long tail so you can weave it in securely. Pull in from the back and start chaining. That chain one I don't count as the chain because it ends up being pulled into the yarn like that. So now I'm going to do another 155 chains, or however long you've chained for, and tie it off in exactly the same way as we just did with the previous one. And once you're done, we're also going to securely weave in this yarn end. And now because this is a yarn tail that is going to get pulled on, because it's the tie around your waist, you're going to be tying it on and off, I want to make sure this is really secure. So what I'm going to do is just put in some basic knots when I'm weaving this yarn tail in. So instead of pulling through the loops all the way, I just go back through them to create some little knots, then weave in and out in different directions, and once it's nice and secure, you can also cut off that yarn tail. So once you're done, just give that a little tug, make sure it feels secure, and then you can finish off. And here are just the two finished ties with the ends knotted off. And just one last potential additional thing that you might want to do is make chains that tie across the top to make the shoulders more secure and stop them from slipping off. So I also really like the way this looks because it creates another bow at the back, and you've got the tie at the front and you've got the tie at the back, and I think it looks really nice together. So what I'm doing is just, I've got the back facing me here, so this is on the back. I've counted 3 double crochets down from the side seam, and I'm working into the top of that double crochet stitch, pulling through with a nice long yarn tail so that I can weave that in securely. And here I ended up chaining 50, which gives quite a nice long chain again to tie a bow at the back. Here's my 50 chains. Same as before, I'm going to pull through, cut off, put in a knot to keep a nice secure end, exactly as we did on the ties below. And this is that, finished on both sides. And you are finished. So I hope you love your new top, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and if you want to give this video a like and you even want to subscribe, that would be amazing. I hope you have a great day wherever you are, and see you in the next one.